We've heard this before, but the Blue Jays are finalists and now leaders for Yariel Rodriguez, the Cuban pitcher that starred at the World Baseball Classic. There's been some problems with his papers and just getting him over to the country, but it's basically a done deal according to multiple reports. So we'll break that down and much more on this episode of Jays Digest. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. And Yariel Rodriguez was one of the more interesting and under-the-radar names in this year's offseason, not only for the Toronto Blue Jays, but all of baseball. He was a pitcher that you're not really sure what you're going to get out of. He's young. He's in the prime of his career. He pitched really well in the World Baseball Classic, pitched really well in Japan as a reliever, but he's coming over here with the expectation of maybe being a starter, maybe being a swingman. You're not exactly sure what role he's going to be deployed in, but he's got great stuff. He's got great shape on his pitches, and the Blue Jays, according to Ken Rosenthal, one of the most trusted, one of the most notable reporters in Major League Baseball, has said that the Blue Jays and Yariel Rodriguez pretty much a done deal, and that they're just working out the finer points of the contract and just getting him over to the country. But Nick, pretty much a done deal, and looking like a pretty good ad for this Blue Jays team.
Yeah, and before we get into it, a quick reminder, hit the subscribe button. We're on the road to 12,000. About 70% of you guys are unsubscribed. Scroll down if you aren't already, hit it. Now, Peter, this terrifies me because we've heard done deal before, and I want to wait until it's officially done. But this just dropped as of the time of recording like 20 minutes ago. This is in Ken Rosenthal's article today. So it says, and we made a video on this, back on December 29th, ESPN's Enrique Rojas reported that the Blue Jays had, quote, taken the lead in the bidding war for Cuban free agent right-hander Yariel Rodriguez, and over the past 2.5 weeks, he has consistently heard the same, and the Jays are optimistic that they will land Rodriguez, according to a source, but the hurdles currently remain in his immigration, preventing the Jays from completing a deal. Now Peter, that last sentence is exactly why Jays fans are all excited. The way he's wording this is that the teams and sides have agreed. They're just working out the finer points. It doesn't seem like another team is going to scoop in and get him. It seems like basically a done deal, and I'll go into that in a second. But what are your initial thoughts on this? Again, if you want to check out our video, I made it a couple weeks ago when we kind of discussed him in depth. I have his stats here. Peter, he is a very, very good pitcher. He's one of the more under-the-radar ones. He is elite. At least he has when he pitched in the Japan League. 1.15 ERA last season, coming off was the best start in a while. And 54 innings, 1.15 ERA. I mean, you can't be upset at that. And this almost now bodes the question, if they get him and they turn him into a starter, what is next for Alek Manoah, or maybe a potential trade of another starter? But what are your thoughts on this? Pretty huge report for this for a random Tuesday.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, this definitely sets up the next move. If the Blue Jays aren't going to be active in free agency in terms of acquiring a hitter, then they could shift their focus over to the trade market. And now if they get this guy, he's probably going to command a decent amount of money, probably going to want to be a starter as well, which was the clincher of him maybe choosing the Blue Jays. Then that opens up a spot, and it clogs up a spot, I guess. And if you're paying him all that money, you're going to have him in that rotation until he gives you no other choice if he underperforms or whatnot. So I think he's going to be a starter if he does come over, and that does open up a possibility of probably trading Yusei Kikuchi. I think he's the more likely trade chip in this scenario. I don't think the Blue Jays would want to spend all that money and then get rid of a cheap contract in Alek Manoah, a guy who's a good bounce back candidate and whatnot. So I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued. I'm just wondering what kind of production you're going to get out of this guy at the big league level. He was great in the World Baseball Classic. He didn't pitch in 2023 in the Japanese League. I think he opted out. So he didn't pitch all of last season, only in the World Baseball Classic. So he's going to be able to hit the ground running. Is he going to need ramping up in spring training? I'm curious. It's a very curious situation with Yariel Rodriguez, but there's no denying his stuff. I mean, he could throw between 96 and 100 miles an hour. He's got a slider that moves equivalent to some of the best in Major League Baseball right now when you look at RPMs, rotations per minute. So he's just fantastic. He's got all the stuff that you would want in a starter. Don't know how durable he is because he hasn't thrown that many innings over the course of his professional baseball career here, but definitely someone to monitor. And I hope that it is a done deal because We spoke about this guy a few weeks ago, Nick. We brought up the possibility of maybe bringing him in and then shipping someone else out and addressing the needs that way. But this is definitely something that I'm open to.
Yeah, and there is still a chance that they potentially use him as a reliever, but with the money they're going to spend, I would rather them go for a starter. Here's what he says. He basically said Rodriguez turns 27 in March, pitched mainly as a starter for Cuba until 2019, and then he joined a new team in the Japanese club, the Dragons, in 20, and kind of has been a monster reliever since then. Like you said, Peter, didn't pitch last season besides the World Baseball Classic, where he started again. So he's kind of been switching between a reliever and a starter. But he basically says that likely as a depth starter, at least initially, Rodriguez will need to build up his innings after not pitching last season. So, again, because of the weird inning situation, he didn't pitch last year. Maybe there's a chance they sign him and they kind of have him as that bullpen longman role and then transition him into a starter once he gets more innings under his belt. But I don't really care either way. This is like, I'm very excited about this, assuming it goes through, and all indications seem to be over the next few days that it's going to go through. I'm just happy the Jays hopefully are going to get a guy like this because he has a huge, really high ceiling. He's super young, and I don't know if you have a prediction, Peter, on the contract. I think we heard like 3 years, 40 plus million way back when we made our video from Enrique Rojas, the reporter there. I don't know if you have a prediction on some of the price, but I don't really care at this point. I'm happy the Jays are doing this, and I also hope that they obviously add a DH as well. But this would make some sense to me, and maybe they keep all their starters and just run with him as a depth guy until he gets innings under his belt.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. 3 years, 45 was going to be my prediction, and I think that's doable. That's doable. It's not over the top, and obviously he's never pitched in the major leagues. He has pitched against major league competition in the Japanese league and in the World Baseball Classic, but we got to see what he can do over the course of a full 162. That's why the Dodgers giving $325 million to Yoshinobu Yamamoto was just insane to me. I think he's going to be great. He's only 25 years old, but what was it, 10-year, $325 million deal? That's just an obscene amount of money for a guy that has never thrown a single pitch at the big league level. So you don't know what to expect until they actually get into your system and they start to show what they can do. But by all accounts, Yariel Rodriguez is a guy with immense stuff, heavy, heavy fastball, and he's just dominant. He was dominant as a reliever. Now the question is, can he translate that into a starter role, and can he make 25 starts for you over the course of a regular season? That's going to be the big question mark surrounding this guy. And if he wants to get paid, starters get paid. Relievers don't get paid. So I believe he's going to come in here. He's going to show what he can do. And then he's going to hit free agency again when he's like 30 or whatnot, and then he's going to cash in. But I think he's going to come over as a starter, and I'm really excited to see what he can do, and I hope that it's in a Blue Jays uniform.
Yeah, and maybe this will be their, obviously it's not the same pitcher, but their kind of replacement of Jordan Hicks from last season out of the bullpen to start, or maybe he'll be a full starter. I mean, we really don't know, though I suspect, like you mentioned, he's probably going to be a starter given the money he is going to get. And Peter, for a rotation that's already kind of really good, if they can do this here, then it'll work out very well. But that'll wrap it up. Let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on Yariel Rodriguez. Do you want him to go to the Toronto Blue Jays, and do you think this is a good addition? Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.